My name is RJ De La Rosa. I started off in the Marines, went to the Air Force, went to the Army, went to the Navy, and retired from the Army. I did 30 years.
Hello, I'm Felix Madrid. I'm a graduate at Round Rock High School, and I was in the Air Force. I served 9 years in the Air Force, and then later worked on for the Air Force, Department of the Air Force, as an athletic director.
What was the best and worst part of boot camp?
The best part of boot camp was graduation. I went to Marine Corps boot camp back in the day when the drill instructors could still beat the crap out of you. And I got the hell beat out of me many times. So that was probably the worst part of boot camp, but the best part of boot camp was graduating. There was nothing better than that.
Mine is, I never had a person use profanity to me personally in my face. And that was, I wouldn't say it's the worst, but it's just different. And obviously the best thing about boot camp is leaving boot camp, you know, and it's easy leaving boot camp. I didn't get to get a graduation. We weren't that formal back then in the Air Force, but it was definitely leaving it. Even though it was close by in San Antonio, it was hard. It was hard to see my mother I got to see my mother and a lot of my family at church on Sundays back then. And it was very difficult to see Mom cry, yeah.
Once you graduated boot camp and you were actually in the military, how were you able to keep in touch with your family?
Well, it was kind of difficult being in the Marines because we were gone a lot. But somehow, some way, I always seemed to be able to find a way to contact my mom every Sunday. One time I was out in the desert, and I was just out there at night. We were out on a patrol, and I saw this telephone pole out in the middle of the desert. And I'm like, what the hell is that doing out here? And I went up there, and sure enough, it was a telephone line. And I had stole this telephone, portable telephone from some folks out of communications. And I went up there and I hooked up, and I was able to call my mom up from the middle of the desert. You can believe that. But every Sunday, I somehow would somehow get to call my mom up somehow.
Maybe it's my Mexican heritage, but on Sundays I had to call as well. So every Sunday, like clockwork, I called my mother. Back then we didn't have cell phones that you used, and we rarely had phones even in the dormitories. But even at Desert Storm, I was actually in charge of the phones, and I still used my racking up $500 a month worth of phone calls to my mom, and every month, called her every Sunday. Yep.
What was life like when you retired from the military?
Let's see. Well, I had done 30 years, so, and 2 combat tours. So it was a little bit of an adjustment. I enjoy it. Don't get me wrong. I love retirement. I don't know why people don't retire earlier. I love being retired, just being able to do whatever I want. But it was a little bit of an adjustment, getting out of the military after so many years. I wouldn't change it for the world, man. It was probably, the military was probably the best time I had in my life. But it was an adjustment, but I got used to it.
I did not retire, but to this day I still work with veterans. So it's been 35 years that I actually work with outreach for Austin Community College, and I assist the veterans to get their educational benefits. So there is not a degree in that, but we've kind of created one and that's what I'm going back to school to do, and that's where my degree will be in focus with, and still have a degree. So I didn't really have a big switch. My ex-wife was in the military after I left. She was coming in, I was going out. I was getting out, going to school, ACC. And so it wasn't a big, Air Force is kind of boring like that. So it's kind of like, I did a lot of great stuff, but I was able to work for the civilian, as a civilian for the Air Force. So the transition was pretty easy for me.
For our last question, what's one thing you learned from the military that you still use today?
Well, the one thing for sure was discipline. Got to have discipline. I try teaching that to my son all the time about not procrastinating, to be disciplined, and then to always have a backup plan. Because I tell you what, whatever plan you have, as soon as it's implemented, it's going to go to hell. So you need to have some backup plan. You're going to be able to adapt and improvise. Because no matter what, whatever plan you have, somehow it never goes according to plan, and you always have to have that backup plan. Oh, and education. That was the other thing. Education was very important. Even when I was in the Marines, they don't send you to school very often. They don't want people to be educated, but somehow I was able to get into some schools while I was there, and I did my best at that, and that's how I got promoted. Same thing when I went to the other services. When I was in the Air Force, I got sent to schools, to the NCO Academy, to other schools, and the same thing with the Army. I went to flight school and other schools. I tried to get into every school I could get into while I was in the military. But anyways, always have a plan, always have a backup plan.
This is my last week at ACC. My journey started literally 30 years ago. I started in 1994, and it took this long to get this degree. And but I'm pretty proud of myself. I'm a disabled vet, and so it makes I have some disabilities. So this has been a little bit, not a little bit of challenge. It's been a big challenge, but it's something I did quite well, and I'm doing quite well. And I'm happy that I've been able to do that. But easily the best thing. I gave a speech this morning. They had a going away party for me, graduating party, I guess. And easiest thing is the people you meet. Absolutely, it's easy. It's the best thing about the military is the people you meet from all over the world, not just the military people, but civilians and the places you go to and the countries that you go to. The people you meet is just incredible. And I've been lucky enough to meet quite a few people. And just like I told the people this morning, going to schools, very similar. It's the people you meet at school and people you won't forget, and you're fortunate to have met them. So easily, it's the people you met. It's the best thing about serving.